Welcome to Leadership Synergized. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. Today, we are kicking off a truly special series of episodes that you won't want to miss, my friend. Joining me is the phenomenal Melissa Davis, a passionate leader, accomplished author, and someone whose journey intertwines the world of food and heartfelt storytelling. Today, we'll dive into her debut book, A Reason to Be, and the magic it brings to readers through the lens of her life experiences and the influence of her beloved grandmother. Prepare yourself, my friend, for insights that go beyond leadership as we explore the deep connections between food, love, and community. I'm thrilled to have you here, Melissa. Welcome, my friend. Ms. Davis, I can't tell you how much it means to me to have you join us here on not just this episode, but each of the 4 episodes that you're coming on our show with and our podcast. And just so very exciting to have you here. In particular, I see over your shoulder there, your very first book, A Reason to Be. We're going to have a chance in our time together for our audiences today in the coming 4 weeks total to deep dive in. But thank you so much, my friend, for being here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm so overwhelming and grateful when you asked me. I'm honored.
Well, our audience is going to be honored to have the opportunity to hear from you with your experience. So we'll talk a bit about the characters. I know we don't want to give away too much in this Never 300 page book that just tells a wonderful story and journey of a young girl and lady, in particular with her grandmother. And if I recall, you even provide your playlist for your travels that you assign to the main character near the end of the book, which I found fascinating because I've listened to a lot of those songs throughout my life as well.
I thought the playlist was good because I have a lot of author friends that use playlists so that you can get into the book, like how they were feeling when they wrote it. And the first time someone told me about their playlist, I was like, okay, music that goes along with the book. I was like, okay. And then I listened to one of my friends' playlists. I was like, oh yeah, this is like the soundtrack of her life in the book. I was like, okay. So I decided to go ahead and do the same thing because for a lot of people, music tells the story.
Oh, 100%. We'll deep dive further into the book and that aspect, but really just a bit of a brief background for our audience. And you and I, we met December 1st, 2025. I was blessed to have the opportunity to be a part of a Dr. John Maxwell, how you might want to say the most recognized leadership expert in the world today and probably for the past 5 decades in Florida near West Palm Beach and Tequesta Village. And it was the kickoff session for the 12-month mentoring program was actually hosted at a restaurant that you mentioned, Evo Italian, and had a chance to meet you. And you actually gave us all a book and signed an inscription with your autograph. And I've kept that near and dear with just a few bends in the pages as I went through reading. What an honor it was to meet you that day. Ms. Davis, if I recall, you had just received several boxes of this book just coming basically off the press almost the day before or a few weeks before.
Yes, my book had released literally the day before, and we couldn't get the books until it was released. And because it was released on a Sunday, we didn't get them until right before you all arrived. They were literally hot off the press.
Yeah, because I think our meeting was on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
We had beautiful weather, a great thing, which kind of brings a great way to kick off. Melissa Davis is more than an author and has been. You've been a expert for a number of years and still today are serving as a restaurant manager. Why don't you talk a bit and just introduce Melissa Davis and a bit about your background with the food industry over time?
My grandmother worked in a restaurant when I was a small child, and that was what she loved. And I always said, oh, I'm not working in a restaurant. And my very first job was in Gracie, Kentucky. It's between, like, on your way to land between the lakes, between Hopkinsville and Cadiz. And it's literally a roadside ice cream shop, but they made burgers and all types of things. And that was my first job. And I fell in love with people and just all the different things that go on food. It's like the language of love. And when I was with my grandmother traveling, I really learned so much about her love for food and how that's like something that brings people together. So I went to college for marketing, and that was my whole plan. And my plan was that I would work for a food company as doing marketing. But I've just always fallen back to serving tables. And that's what I did throughout the journey of writing Reason to Be. Was I worked in a restaurant, sometimes multiple restaurants, waiting tables, and Evo is where I worked. I've been at Evo for almost 20 years. And on my guest checks is where I would write little notes about things that I wanted to add to my book and different little things. So I've been in the restaurant business for 40 years.
Good for you. Good for you. And I have to tell you, the restaurant and the service and the people and just represented what I saw in you in the initial introduction. Just a wonderfully comfortable approach and conversational. The food was terrific, by the way. And I think we sampled just about everything on the menu, if I'm not mistaken. But you and your team were so gracious today. And on the flight back home, I think I mentioned this in my letter to you right after that, right after the first of the year. I had a chance to deep dive through the first 3 or 4 chapters of the book on roughly a 2-hour flight. Just sense that friendliness and comfortable feeling coming through even in those first few pages. And I commend you. Ms. Davis, we hear a lot about the food industry being one of the most difficult to have as a career in this world today, but yet people like yourself have done it their entire life. Talk a little bit about how have you seen the industry shift and change over time?
I've seen it change from everything you can imagine. The first fine dining restaurant I worked in, I was 19 years old, and where I worked was between Nashville, Tennessee and Clarksville, Tennessee, where Fort Campbell is. And Fort Campbell is where they relied on a lot of their business to come from. And when Desert Storm happened, the town was desolate. There were no people. The families went back home to their own families, like their mothers and fathers, because their husbands and wives weren't there. And so it affected how we made our money. And then once they came home, then business went back. People, you're much, much busier, went back to normal. And it's all about a sense of community. I feel like the restaurant business, if you're in a good town where there's a lot of people and people care about you, it's about that hospitality of showing people that you're glad that they're there, being glad that they're there and appreciating them for providing you with your income, providing them you with a place to go to work every day, because without the guest, you don't have a job. The guests are the people who bring it all in for you, who make you have a reason to be. You wouldn't be there. You wouldn't have your own reason to be there if it wasn't for the guests.
Well said, my friend. Evo Italian, you've been there for 20 plus years. This had to be just almost a natural match when you came on board roughly 2 decades or so ago. What has kept you at Evo Italian? And just share and brag a little bit about your restaurant and your team.
Chef Eric, who owns the restaurant, I actually worked at another restaurant, and my friend said, "Oh, you have to meet Chef Eric." And I said, "Okay, I'm not looking for a job." She's just meet Chef Eric. And I met him, and he told me the story about his own grandmother and his own mother that inspired him to begin his journey of cooking. And they taught him how to cook and all the different things that he had the same values as I did. And so I started working there part-time. I worked a couple of days a week, and then a couple of days turned into 4 days, and 4 days turned into 6 days. And here we are 20 years later. And Eric has a passion for taking care of people and for trying to feed the world. And that's what I believed in. I believed in the same things that he did. And so we almost made it like a family where people had a place to come where they could feel comfortable and they could get those dishes that brought them back to their childhood. And that was his belief, was that's what he would do. And we all treated each other. In the beginning, there was only just a handful of us, and we all treated each other with respect and kindness, like a little family. And it was like a found family. And that seems to be what the theme that we've kept over the years, because parents trust us with their children to be our hostesses and our busboys slash back servers. We call them back servers, but most people would probably call them busboys. But they trust us with their children, and your first job is what shapes your future, because the things that you learn at your first job when you're a teen is what you will take into whatever you do afterwards. The success that you have in life always goes back to where it began, what you were taught from the beginning. And we get some really incredible young people that work at Evo, and a lot of them play sports. A lot of them are very studious people, and then they learn social skills. They learn the things that they don't teach you at school. They learn how to interact with people. And one of the things that John Maxwell actually did for the young people that work at Evo, and for everyone, he gave them the 25 Ways to Win with People book, because John happens to come when we're having our meetings. We have a meeting every day. And in our meeting, we talk about how the little things matter. We talk about the little things that make the difference, that make the meal for the people, and the things to concentrate on, because you don't know what the people who are coming in for dinner are going through. Sometimes people just need to be served. They need to have someone take care of them.
Ms. Davis, I love where you're going. And what's underlying there is actually my theme of the week, a focus on consistency or constancy of purpose. And it seems as though what you're describing is just you all have had the ability there at Evo Italia to maintain that culture for more than 20 years now, even though outside society sometimes loses consistency in that regard. What's been the biggest challenge for you and your team, Ship, Eric, and others involved at Evo Italian over that time, and maintaining that consistency, keeping that family atmosphere, and ensuring that the individual maintains their own individualism when they're there at the restaurant?
One of the things that we all talk about a lot, and Chef Eric is very big on this, is you can't teach people to be good people. If you start out as a good person, you can learn how to do anything. So he really focuses on making sure that you use your own personality in what you're doing. No one needs to be a robot. We're all going to give the same great service and care for our guests in the same way. And that's what keeps us going, is they give us our reason to be. They give us our purpose for coming to work every day. And we really are glad to be there and glad to be serving them, because a lot of people who come there, I've literally watched their children grow up, or there's a couple of different couples that I've waited on from their first date up until now, where they have children and all kinds of various different things, ages and stages of their lives. So they become a part of our lives as we become a part of theirs.
And that, I think that speaks volumes to the respect, love, the care, just the trust and the compassion they feel in you and your team to keep coming back, and what they see in you all, and the fact they do entrust you with their children. In essence, they've entrusted you with their lives as they've grown up or around and coming to dine at your restaurant. That's fascinating. And in my experience, speaks volumes on what true leadership has always been intended to be and how it can be sustained going forward. Ms. Davis, before we wrap up our first episode and our first session here, you alluded to a moment ago that as we kind of shift a bit from your experience with the restaurant to your step into the world of writing, being an author, you were capturing and taking notes and observing. So it seems as though your role at the restaurant has kind of played a part into bringing you to this point to becoming an author.
Oh, definitely, because I started the book before I even worked at Evo. I started the book as a tribute to my grandmother. It was getting close to her 100th birthday, and I loved my grandmother so much. And it was hard for me to figure out something special that I could do. And I thought, oh, I will write about when we went on this adventure, and then put it into a little book. And that I got busy. I worked and I had kids, and I was trying to raise my family, and I just didn't get it done. But then I just kept coming back to it. I was like, I'm going to make it into a book. It might be the shortest book ever, but I will make it into a book. And so people would always ask me, when's your book going to be finished? And I always say, I don't know. It'll be finished when it's finished. But I feel like it took me that journey of my own life and taking those notes and thinking of things as I was working and watching other families interact and different things that would remind me of things in my own life. So I would write them in my little guest checks.
You mentioned something there I think many of us have experienced. I know it's something that really attracted me to the book and the storylines and the journey, and we're going to dive more in the coming episodes, deeper into the characters, some of your experiences has played a part, experiences of characters, just how our plans can be shifted, pushed back, altered, detoured, just because life happens. It takes over. When family time comes, when commitments are needed in many different ways, other things get put off, even though the heart, soul, passion remains in that aspect. And I commend you so much for not losing sight, keeping that passion to come back and honor your grandmother and allow the rest of the world, me, everyone seeing this and everyone that's going to read this wonderful book, to have a chance to share in that journey in life and get to know your grandmother, and you for that matter.
Thank you. I'm just so honored to be able to share the story with you and with everyone.
That's fantastic. We're going to come back in our next episode, and we're going to start the deep dive into A Reason to Be. Really, it's a wonderful storyline. I know our viewers are going to get a lot out of it. Ms. Davis, again, thank you for being here. It means the world to me. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
And that wraps up our first episode with the remarkable Melissa Davis. We've only begun, my friend, to scratch the surface of her incredible story and the lessons woven into A Reason to Be, her debut book as an author. Remember, the connections we build, whether through leadership or through the simple act of sharing a meal, define our journeys. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive, and stay tuned because we have 3 more enlightening episodes lined up where Melissa will share even more of her wisdom and insights. Thank you for being a part of our community here at Leadership Synergized. Until next time, my friend, keep leading with purpose and always, always find your own reason to be.